So the White House is showing its pride for the LGBT community. Later today, the president will deliver an address at the White House as part of the administration's celebration of June being Gay Pride Month. And this comes as the Supreme Court is poised to rule on two landmark marriage equality cases by the end of this month. And as President Obama faces increased pressure to take even further action to protect LGBT Americans both in marriage and in the workplace. Joining me right now is David Codell, legal director at UCLA's Law's LGBT think tank, the Williams Institute, and former law clerk for Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and LGBT attorney and activist Evan Wolfson. He's also the executive director of Freedom to Marry. Gentlemen, it's great to have you here. Evan, I want to start with you because among those attending today's event at the White House, we break down a really interesting cornucopia of those people attending. There's an openly gay Lutheran bishop. There's the mayor of New London, Connecticut, and the first gay couple married in the state of Michigan. One News magazine famously dubbed President Obama as being the first gay president, but now activists want him to use his executive powers, obviously, to fight discrimination in the workplace with the Employment Non-Discrimination Act. Do you think the president is getting a bad rap for not doing an executive order on that?
First of all, I don't think the president's getting a bad rap. I think the president's getting exactly what he's invited: support and appreciation for his strong and effective leadership, and encouragement, pushing, help to do the rest of the job. And that's what presidents are elected to do. We are very grateful for President Obama's clear and strong moral leadership, and he would be the first to agree with us that there's much more that needs to be done, including taking steps to end discrimination in the workplace.
All right, let's talk about what we expect from the U.S. Supreme Court, because, David, this event comes as certainly we wait for the backdrop. A lot of anticipation on this. These two historic decisions, Prop 8 and DOMA, they will come down from the Supreme Court by the end of the month. And the New York Times article this week suggests that gay law clerks at the Supreme Court who no longer feel the need to live in the shadows could help impact these upcoming decisions. And the article also points out the large population of people who identify themselves as LGBT in Washington, D.C., more than double in the country. You are openly gay and you clerked for Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So what is your firsthand knowledge of this, and how impactful do you think that those relationships might be?
Well, I think studies have shown that one of the greatest predictors of whether someone supports rights for LGBT people, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender people, is whether they know people who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. And so I think the most significant takeaway from the fact that the justices have had gay law clerks and have interacted regularly with gay employees and other people in their personal lives is that they understand gay people as individuals and gay people as members of family. These cases before the court this term represent the first time that these justices are considering gay rights issues in the context of actual families before them. And fortunately, the concept of gay and lesbian people forming families together is not a foreign concept to them. It's something they've observed in people who are close to them, both personally and professionally.
Well, it makes a difference when things are made visible. And David, in this article, it also brought up how Justice Lewis F. Powell struggled with how to cast a decisive vote in the '86 sodomy case that devastated the gay community. He told his fellow justices he had never met a homosexual, when in truth that one of his four clerks that term was gay. In January, John Roberts admitted about 30 members of the LGBT Bar Association. How do you think that changes the dynamics of the court, the visibility of LGBT people who have the choice to make about being visible? Because it's easy to hide sometimes in the LGBT community. You don't have to raise your hand and be accounted for.
I think it makes all the difference in the world. You know, it's interesting. The court this term is deciding whether the Federal Defense of Marriage Act is constitutional. When that law was enacted by Congress in 1996, incidentally, while I was clerking at the Supreme Court, at that time, when Congress said that the federal government would in no way recognize any marriage of any same-sex couple, there actually were no legally married same-sex couples anywhere in the world. There wasn't a single country that allowed same-sex couples to marry. Fast forward to today, 17 years later. We've got 12 states plus the District of Columbia that have enacted laws that will permit same-sex couples to marry. Same-sex couples are able to marry in countries throughout the world. The concept of gay people forming families, and in fact forming families that are recognized by the government as marriages is something that the justices are now familiar with. And that will help them understand that laws such as the Defense of Marriage Act and Proposition 8 are actually actively discriminating against existing families.
You know, and the interesting thing too, Evan, I want to point out, because we know that 70+ members of Congress are doing the No Hate photo campaign today. I mean, this is a huge indication of the sea change that we're seeing in Washington, D.C., because that's triple the number who participated the last year. But we think about seeing that forward motion, and we juxtapose that with hate crimes that we're seeing in and around the country, especially here in New York City.
Right. Well, look, there's immense progress. There's irrefutable momentum in favor of the freedom to marry. Diverse Americans, many Americans, a majority of Americans are speaking out now in support of ending this discrimination. But there remains a mountain of discrimination that still needs to be brought down and overcome. And that's why we do engage the president. It's why we do call on Congress. It's why we have to talk neighbor to neighbor to continue ensuring that gay people are able to participate fully and equally in American society. That's what strengthens America, and it's what we're working for.
Well, Loving versus Virginia, it did away with interracial marriage bans in '67, but it didn't do away with racism in this country. Right. Homophobia will still exist no matter what the Supreme Court does. Evan Wolfson, great to see you. David Codell, thanks so much. We're back.